Hello, David. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Lindsay, it's so great to be with you. We're here from warm LA, finally, after all the rain we had.
Oh my gosh, sending that warm weather to me here in Colorado.
Yes,
Guys,
take
for
it,
our
take it.
listeners,
It's yours.
yes. I'm so excited today, David, to introduce you to our audience, our All Ears English listeners. Guys,
Me
on the
too.
show today, we have David Burke. He is the slang man on Voice of America, has been that for the last 6 years, where he's been helping 300 million listeners around the world understand everyday slang. He's also the author of Street Speak and Biz Speak. These are a series of books on popular American idioms and slang. David, you're based in LA, is that right?
Yeah, I was born here also on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood.
Wow, right in
So
the
this is
center
a
of
real
everything.
Hollywood accent. This is it.
Yes, you are right in the center of Hollywood. I love it.
I
And
am.
you are also a star on the TV show Haywordy, which is a show that introduces children to the world of language and culture through music and animation. And as I see you on video, this episode is on YouTube and our podcast, I can see your enthusiasm and just
Oh,
joy
yeah.
in teaching and being an
Oh.
educator and being an observer of languages. Am I
No,
getting that right?
Lindsay, it's like what you said when we were having a conversation before we started. It's all about breaking down the barriers of communication and getting people to connect. It's connection.
Yes,
So we
connection.
come from the same mindset and the same heart set. So absolutely.
100%. I love it. And I can tell it's so genuine. So
Oh.
tell me a little bit, David, why did you decide to go ahead and devote your entire career to slang? What is it about slang that is so important in your mind? Tell us, is there an origin story? Was there a moment for you where you
Oh
said this
boy.
really matters?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I was living in France, I grew up speaking French because of my father. My parents are from Europe, so there were 7 languages spoken in our household,
Oh
which
my
is pretty
gosh.
normal in Europe.
Yeah.
So French was the one that my father really loved. So when I went to France to live with a French family, I thought I'm going to show off. Everybody will be so impressed with my French, and they could understand me just fine. I was speaking academic school book French. But when
Right.
they turned to each other in the family and had conversations, and I'm sitting like at the dinner table, I couldn't understand a word,
Oh my
nothing.
gosh.
It was a completely different language. And it was like full of contractions and reductions. So I,
Right.
I told people at the table, wait, stop. What does that mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? So I started writing things down on my arm. I didn't have any paper with me. I didn't want to miss a word. So I kept writing things down and then making a list for myself. And it wasn't until I got back to the United States when I was working out with a French friend of mine named Pascal. Someone
Uh-huh.
came up to Pascal and said, "Hey, Pascal, what's up?" And my friend Pascal looked up at the ceiling and started to check it out. And I said, no, that's just slang. And then his friend went on to say, "So, Pascal, did you hear how the Italian soccer team licked the French team?"
Oh my
And
gosh.
Pascal's mouth dropped open. And I thought,
What?
"Oh, no, Pascal, wait, it means to beat someone. It's slang." So that I was at
Yes.
that moment when I realized I was lost in France because I didn't know slang. He's lost here. And
Mm.
let's get those barriers down and really back to connection.
Yeah,
So
you
that's
know
what
what strikes me
inspired me.
about your story, and because it's so genuine, is that all of these things happen around other human beings, right? So it's all
Right.
about people, right? And so for our listeners, for you guys, I want to encourage you to find those moments in your life where you realize this really matters, right? This is how we devote our entire heart to learning this language and connecting with that human being in front of us. So then let's take it.
Absolutely.
I love it, David. Thanks for sharing that. And I've
Oh,
had
sure.
similar experiences too. I know how it
I know.
feels when you're abroad and they're having that conversation and you are on the outside, right? You're on the
Nothing
outside.
feels more isolating and
Exactly.
you feel so lonely. And especially imagine ESL students who've taken
Mhm.
English for the past 5 years, 10 years.
Exactly.
They come
Yes.
here and we say something, for example, like this. I remember saying something to 2 girls from Brazil. They spoke English since they were 5 years old.
Yep.
They asked me a question, and I said this, Lindsay, and mainly only native speakers understand this. I said, uh, uh. They had no
Yeah.
idea what I had just said. And they said,
Okay.
wait, what was that? I said, I didn't
Mm.
even know what they meant because it's so natural to us because I
Right.
do not know, I don't know, but there's a music that comes with, I don't know. So we just say,
Yeah.
so
And Yeah. And this is really what we're missing a lot of times when we've studied English in school, in textbooks, in our education system. It's just what we're missing. It is the gaps. So then let's
Exactly.
expand this out because a lot of our listeners, David, are looking to improve their English for their workplace, right? For the work, for the
Oh, they've come to
career.
the right
They
place.
work in multinational companies and they need this. Why does it matter even more in business?
If you make a mistake in slang, in normal conversation, okay, it's just a mistake. That's all.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost you. In fact, I don't know if you remember this years and years ago, Warner Brothers, that created Bugs Bunny, they had stores all around the United States. And they had a meeting with one of their manufacturers. In these stores, you could buy memorabilia, objects like the Bugs Bunny statue or Porky the Piggy Bank.
Sure.
So they told their Japanese partners, manufacturers, we're going to shelve the project. So the Japanese people, they bowed, went back to Japan to create millions of dollars worth of products to be put onto the shelves of the stores. They didn't understand that was an idiom. To shelve a project doesn't mean to put it on the shelf. It means we are done. We are ending it. So that's why in business, it can be a huge, expensive mistake.
Wow, that could be a case study in Harvard Business Review, right? What you just shared right there. It's a real story. And there's thousands of others. And so we need to be on top of this. So in that sense, that's why we had you on today, David, is to get into the business slang. You know, slang changes every single year. So what do you have for us today? What can you tell us about slang expressions in business that maybe were hot in 2020, 2021, but are going out the door into 2023? What do we need to know about what's changing every day? Where do we start?
It's so interesting. And you're right. It changes. Some changes every year. Some doesn't change.
Right.
There's certain words that will never change. I know people always ask me, what word has not changed at all? There's only one, the word cool, because no one's going to touch a word that's cool, like cool is, right?
So don't touch it.
It'd be uncool to touch cool. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this, Lindsay. I'm going to test you.
Try my hand here, David. Here we go. I'm ready.
Okay. We're on the air and I'm going to test you. So tell me, are these business slang terms banished? Are they gone or are they back? Here's one. To run something up the flagpole. That was actually big in 2022.
Was it really? Oh my gosh.
To run it up the flagpole. Let's run it up the flagpole.
50-50 chance on this. I'm going to take a chance and say it's still sticking around. If it had to come back in 2022, maybe it's still around in 2023. Am I wrong?
You know what? You actually are right. And it means to talk about it. Let's run it up the flagpole and discuss it. So that's good. You got it.
And does it also mean I was thinking it meant to bring it up the organization, like into higher levels. Is that not true? Is that not what that means?
Yeah, it means either bring it up in conversation. Let's talk about it, or let's run it up the flagpole, like you said, up different levels of the organization, to see at what point will it stick or get shelved.
Okay. So for our listeners today, your first takeaway, write this one down, right? Run it up the flagpole, or is that how we would say it, David? Let's run it up the flagpole.
Yeah, let's run it up the flagpole.
Okay. That one is relevant, good, and you're good to go.
And it's good in marketing slang in particular. That's kind of the category of business that would be in. Now, here's one that's general business slang.
Okay. Let's do it.
Lindsay, I'll circle back with you later. To circle back.
So this one, I am so tired of this one. I'm exhausted. And I think I'm going to say this one is going out the window.
You're right.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. I was actually surprised because how else would we say I'll circle back? I guess I'll just touch base with you later, which comes from sports. I'll touch base with you later.
Right.
That's actually more popular now.
Okay, so circle back. So do you think that this is an example of a word that's hit a wall where people have just said it so much, it's become a cliche and we roll our eyes when we say it? Is that what happened to that expression, or what happened to it?
Exactly. It's overused.
Yeah.
Now, but here's what's so interesting to me. It depends on who you speak with and in what state, because sometimes there'll be an expression that will be considered, okay, there's a teen word, bae, B-A-E, before anyone else. Oh, you are my bae. Well, there are some teens out there who will say, oh, bae is so old. And others are saying, no, what? I still use it. So sometimes it just kind of depends. But there are all sorts of polls that are taken all the time by publishers. I always ask, on social media, is this back or banish, and I get it right from the horse's mouth, as they say in slang, right from the people who use it. So there is one I think is, I'm going to give this one away.
Okay.
Bandwidth. I don't have the bandwidth to do that right now. Okay. Bandwidth.
So what do we think about this one, David? Is this also going the way of just overuse, or is this, also, okay. You know what I think about this one? I wonder if this is because we've all just, with the pandemic, we're just exhausted, like emotionally exhausted. We've been through a lot with having kids at home and everything. And this idea of bandwidth, we just talked about it so much. Do you think that's what it is, maybe?
I am sure it is. Everyone's exhausted. And when someone says something that doesn't, you used the word earlier, which I always appreciate. I said something and you said, well, that's very authentic.
Yeah.
Some words, if you overuse them, don't sound authentic anymore. It's like, I've heard that word. It's not your word. It's not coming from your heart. It's coming from your brain.
Right.
I'm over it. So I think we want authentic. You and I talk about connection. And to connect, you've got to be authentic. And some of these words, like, okay, here's the last one for you on back or banished.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, I just know you're going to have a reaction to this one. Synergy.
Oh my gosh, no, banished. Please tell me it's banished.
Right? Yes.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you. Synergy. And that's considered what we call a portmanteau, which is two words that make up one word, like lunch.
Oh. What are the two words that bring that together, by the way, for our listeners? What are those two words?
It is energy and I just blanked. What? Synergy. Synchronization. So synchronization. So we are in sync. We are in sync with our energy. I can't believe I forgot that for a second. I was thinking of another portmanteau like brunch, lunch, and breakfast. Right. I say I went right to the food and forgot what synergy meant. I guess it's close to lunchtime. And then we have other business terms that are now just starting out in 2023 that are getting more and more popular. So let's see if you know what these are.
Let's get a few of these for our listeners. So guys, these are the ones that you're going to want to write down and go ahead and start using these. So what's the first one, David, that is good to go for 2023?
This has become so popular. Quiet quitting.
Oh my gosh, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Our listeners have heard about this, but I'm glad you mentioned it because that validates this topic more than just a word, right? It's a whole concept that we're exploring in our society, a societal shift, right, David?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a movement. Quiet quitting. Just you quit without telling your boss. You just don't come back.
Are they talking about this with their coworkers in the workplace, or where is the word coming up? Is it more in the news? What do you think? What's your sense?
I think it's just the movement. I don't think people actually use it, but they might say, I am part of the movement of quiet quitting. What do you mean? Well, I decided when I was home during the pandemic and I had to work remotely, I just stayed there.
Yeah.
In fact, and which leads me to another word, speaking of remote. Have you heard of this one? This is really new. Lean remote.
Oh, so I've certainly heard the word lean in the context of startups, lean innovation, and then lean remote. I'm curious what that means. What does that expression mean? Where would
I've been reading about it more and more this month. It's just starting to bubble up. So lean remote means you work from home, remote, but you sometimes go into the office.
A lean remote. Okay.
Lean remote. So you're not totally remote. You haven't made the total jump. You haven't made the commitment 100%.
Right.
But you're lean remote. Yes. I'm going to work from home and a little bit at the office.
This is very, very applicable to a post-pandemic world right now for our listeners, guys, all over the world. This is it. I bet a lot of our listeners they are on this schedule, right? They know they have to put in the FaceTime at the office a few times a week, but not every single day. We know that's not always the best place to get our work done. So lean remote. I love it. Okay.
That's exactly what the concept is. You get more work done in person. Well, the last one, and you kind of alluded to it in a direction, like what we're doing right now. Yeah. We are on Zoom. Zoom fatigue.
Zoom fatigue. Oh, of course.
That's a thing. Zoom fatigue.
Yeah. I love it.
But it's interesting because I actually find this, and it depends who you're talking to, of course, but I find this okay. I mean, sure, I'd rather be right there next to you talking,
Yeah.
but next best thing, I haven't experienced the Zoom fatigue yet.
Right, right.
I'm still good.
Yeah. I mean, I think, what we get to do, I don't know what your workday looks like, David, so I'll speak for myself, but when I'm on the video, I'm podcasting, I'm in my zone of genius. I love it, right? But a lot of people, I think when they talk about Zoom fatigue, they're on meetings where maybe they're not even participating. They're just having to be there to show
I didn't even
FaceTime.
see,
Right?
you and I come from
Yeah.
the same place. When I think of
Yes.
Zoom, I'm thinking, yes,
Performance. Yes.
fun. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Performance. We're helping people understand our world, our words,
Exactly.
taking down this barrier. So it's fun, and we get to
love it.
connect with people. I didn't even think of that. Of course, when you're in a
Yeah.
serious meeting, yeah, it could be
Different.
fatiguing.
It can get exhausting. 8 meetings a day, and then you don't actually necessarily have the time to get your actual work done. So let's just review these, David. What are
Sure.
the 3 or 4 that you mentioned in the beginning, just so our listeners can write them down to know not to use those ones that are going out the window for 2023? What was that first one? Just remind us again.
One was, which is good, to run something up the flagpole.
Okay, and that's still good, right? We're
That's
saying
still
that's
good.
still good. Okay,
Under
we're
the
still good with
category of
that.
marketing business slang. Then
Okay.
to circle back.
Yes, and that one we are tired of. Correct.
We're tired of that. Now,
Okay.
that doesn't mean you're not going to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people will still use it, but you may hear, let's touch base later on. I think that's kind of a better replacement.
Better. Yeah.
A little more visual. Bandwidth.
Oh, exhausting.
You're funny. We both have that groan. Yeah, bandwidth. That's you may not hear that so much anymore.
Okay.
And synergy.
And synergy.
Being in sync and energy.
This one feels
synergy.
This one feels especially old to me. This feels like more of a 90s term almost to me.
It does to me
the
too.
.com boom term kind of.
I mean, if I said to you, Lindsay, we have good synergy together, wouldn't you feel like, well, that wasn't from the heart? That didn't feel good.
It's just a corporate speak word.
It is just a
we
word.
Might have good synergy, but you could say it in more real ways. Right?
Yeah, we really connect.
Yeah.
We really,
Yes.
or some people would say we vibe,
or philosophically, like-minded, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
More interesting things we can say, and that's the problem with some of these buzzwords in the corporate world is that we don't seem authentic when we use them because they've been said so many times.
Exactly, cliche.
All right. And so
then the new ones.
Yeah, the new ones again. One more time for our listeners to write
Sure.
them down. Mm-hmm.
So quiet quitting.
Okay.
That's a really good new one. Quiet quitting. That's a big movement.
Yep.
And then we have, lean remote. We are going to be reading about that more and more. Lean remote.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Zoom fatigue, which luckily you and I haven't experienced yet, but a lot of people have. They have experienced Zoom fatigue. They're tired of it. Yeah. And we all want to get back face to face, of course.
Sure. Yeah. It's incredible how much this world event has changed our language. I see the pandemic all over this. What we've been through in the last couple of years has just changed the way we speak and what words come and go. David, this is fantastic and fascinating. I want to
we could talk about it all day.
Yeah, we could keep going, but our episodes are somewhat short here, so we're going to wrap it up for today. But tell our listeners where they could find you online and what you're working on, because I bet they want to hear more from you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, you can find me at www.slangman.com. I've got lots of fun, free stuff for you, and my books all on slang and idioms. And you can also click into my new podcast called Slinging the Slang, which is all about slang, all about idioms, what we are all saying today. And we also like to explore what we used to say, all the shifts and how things change. So it's all about slang. Go there, you'll learn everything you've ever wanted to about slang. The way Lindsay and I speak, we are native speakers of English, and this is just how we all speak without even realizing it. Even Lindsay just said, we're going to wrap it up. Right. That's a great idiom. Mm-hmm. That means to end it. We use slang without even realizing it.
I love it so good. And give us that URL one more time, David, just so our listeners can type that right into their browsers. What is your URL?
Sure.
One more time.
It's Slangman, S like Sam, LANGMAN, like Superman, but slangman.com.
I love it. And I love that you're starting a new podcast. So we're excited to hear more about that in the future.
I'm so excited. And I hope you'll join us on there. I would love to have you as a guest. Would that be a thrill?
Thank you, David.
Really?
I'd love to do that.
I invite you here and now.
Thank you. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on All Ears English today. It's been a great conversation and super useful for our listeners.
My pleasure.
In that corporate world.
My pleasure,
David.
Lindsay. Thank you. You got it. Thanks so much. Bye.